but my goodness gracious, this is perfect for tonight's presentation. And John knows what I'm talking about. Jane, Pat, and some of the others, if you've gone poking around the old graveyards. So tonight, this is just so exciting because we're doing this, because they have crowned the fat bear for this year. This is for the past week, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, the Fat Bear Contest up in Katmai National Park made international news. Fat bears are healthy bears. So, great news. Now I want to write a few things up. I'm left-handed, sorry, okay? I'm right upside down. Protect and preserve, and we're going to go around the loop a couple of times with this. I want to talk about, we need to do this in our graveyards. In a couple of weeks, on Saturday, the 26th of October, we'll be doing a little walk tour before the zombie business over at Park Cemetery. That's 19th century Victorian era art. It's a whole different world. It's a great world. And it comes completely after what we've got tonight. Tonight is two-dimensional sculpture, and then Greek revival in art and architecture turns it on its head, and you're going to find everything becomes three-dimensional sculpture, whether it's the gravestones or carvings, statuary, obelisks, mausoleums, whatever. But protect and preserve. We need to do this. We need to do this whether it comes to our fat bears, because there is a whole situation up there. I'm just going to write. This is your homework. Sorry, I'm left-handed. It's a curse. Save Pebble Mine. That's research for later if you want to do your part in preserving and protecting fat bears. See, I like old graveyards. I also like food. I know you wouldn't know that by looking at me. But right up there, Save Pebble Mine. They're looking to Save Pebble Mine. Oh, Kim, we not you. We don't want Pebble Mine. See, I'm nervous. Save Bristol Bay, because Pebble Mine will go in and it's going to decimate the salmon population, which will affect the bears and the eagles and all that neat stuff. It's going to affect the indigenous people. Their jobs rely on that. 50% of the salmon that folks eat, 50% in the world comes from there. It's going to affect my gut. So we want to protect and preserve Pebble Mine, old gravestones. But let's get going back, because there's a third thing I want to add to this list, another 3 words. I just get carried away with 3 words. Oh, it's 4. Let me do a contraction. Pretty sneaky, huh? I didn't know. Clever. Back when I gave my very first talk a million years ago, I was a wreck, even more nervous than I am now, because I'm not really a public speaker. And I'm kind of shy by nature. But this is with the Molten Grove Historical Society, and I'm getting ready to talk, and nobody knows that I'm the speaker. And there's a couple of what I would call back then elderly women. I would not be so generous with my description now, because they were probably my age. One looked at the other one and said, "Gravestone rubbings." And she was disgusted. She said, "Oh, that ought to be interesting." And she rolled her eyes in her head, and my heart sank. And if I could have had the courage to walk out and just say, nope, I would have done it. I was terrified, and I really didn't want to do it, but I did because I'm a Sowles, and I think it went pretty well. I know I lived through it because I'm here today. And I have to tell you, the first thing that happened when I was, they were the first ones to come up. They ran up to me and thanked me, and they said, "I did not know." And that's the other thing that you'll be taking home with you tonight, if you're newer to this, because what we have here are open-air museums. And I never knew myself until my dad took me out when I was 6 years old, and anyone who knew my dad, he was a real prankster, and he said, "Let's go in the graveyard." And you got to be kidding me. But he took me in, and that day he showed me it was a respectful place, a peaceful place. He read the stones and explained the rest of the history. These were boring stones with just name, date of birth, date of death, and age. But he created a world with that, where this was a person lived a long time at that age. Or these were children that died within a short period of time. A lot of kids didn't grow up to be adults. And so he explained what it used to be like, and it was a whole new world. And there was no turning back. God bless him, I miss him to this day. We had a lot of fun doing graveyard hopping. But anyhow, I didn't know, well, I didn't either. I've been studying gravestones since I was in 6th grade. I can remember the Vermont Life article that I read, and I won't bore you with the details. Any of you who are parents who leave magazines in your bathrooms, good thing to do, because that thing got read and reread and reread, and I never forgot the pictures. And what a surprise, I ended up being an art history major, right? I like looking at the pictures. That's what we're going to do tonight. Look at a lot of the pictures, but then also talk about what they're saying to us. And sometimes we can talk about the stories that aren't written on the stone. Maybe there's stuff down below that I didn't do a rubbing of, whatever. So, moving right along, protect and preserve. We'll be doing that in Park Cemetery too, because they have a lot of marble. Well, let me do it this way, okay? Because I like to draw, even if I'm left-handed. 1620, the Pilgrims drop off the boat. That's what's written on the rock, so I believe it's true. The original stones are made of slate, very dark in color. They're the shortest ones, they're the thickest ones. They're going to have, oh, I should go into art, a very flat tympanum here, and with 2 sides, just barely a little bit of a curve. They're going to evolve. Mid to late 1600s, early 1700s, there's going to be relaxation of styles. The stone isn't going to change yet, but you're going to see it's going to come up a bit. It becomes a bit more predictable, a little less hand carved. Sometimes you can start seeing a bit of gray. And last but not least, again, that Greek revival in architecture, late 17, early 1800s, it just turns everything on its head. And because back in Greco-Roman times, you know how they like to do marbles and everything, this has all gone away. You get into marble, and it's now white. So if you're like me and you're addicted to graveyards, we do drive-bys. And I'll say, oh, slow down, and I'll take a look. And I'll look for the size of the stone and the shape and the color. And if you like the old stuff, like this, I do. If you like the old stuff, the darker the better, the shorter the better. But that's the general evolution of what you can expect in graveyards. Now, the next point is, why did they do this in the first place? Any ideas? No thoughts? I'll give you the answer. You don't need to look it up. Back when the Pilgrims came over, they're a pretty serious lot. They were here in search of religious freedom. They had very specific ideas about church and religion and God. Now back then, in the earliest days, they would go to church in the morning. They would have a lunch break. They did not go home to watch the Patriots in the afternoon. With this gentleman here, they would go back in the graveyard before the afternoon service. And they would walk around, and they would look at what was there. They would think about life, death, their own mortality. And this was serious business. Very serious business, because back then, I don't know how to say this, but it's sort of, death was more sudden and awful. It was less predictable. Kids died at young ages. All the above. You just didn't know when you were going to die. You wanted to make things right with God so that if you died in the next couple of minutes, you would stand a chance to go to heaven and not to hell. God is the decision maker. And that's what's important about this first one here. Because there is a big line between heaven and between earth. And so you die and you wait for God. Even if you lived a good life and had good works, God made the decision, not you. And this is going to change over a couple hundred years. It's going to soften and evolve. And that's why I bring this in here, because the oldest stones, if you look at this and you shiver, good job, you got the point. But it also communicates to us how different things are 200, 300, 400 years ago, which it's easy to forget. You know, I like to think, I look at the old gravestones and, oh yeah, I got the message, I'm used to it. They still can give me goosebumps, but I got the message. And the reason that they put the pictures on in addition to the words, these were a visual vocabulary. for all the people who could not read, so all the kids from this tall, the oldest adult, you got the message, because this was an important message. What they brought with them were Calvinist ideas as far as iconography as part of the pictures are concerned. And that's what we will see. So basically, we're going to start with a very black, dark stone, but you're not going to see the stone. I'm going to show you some of the oldest, hardline, serious messages, the creepy ones, the ones that when you talk to grade schools, the kids love, they eat it up, they do, they just love it. We're going to evolve into some early to mid-1700 stones where there is a softening of styles. Death heads, the skulls and whatnot are going to ease into seeing more cherubs, angel faces, and that's the soul's ascent into heaven. By the mid to late 1700s, I love it in funerary art. You can tell, as you know, with any sort of history, any history of what's going on is reflected in our arts. You can see that in museums. Guess what? You can see it in your graveyard as well. And so, mid to late 1700s, you can tell we're going to be a new country evolving. The Revolutionary War is coming. They're looking like this guy here, getting ready to declare our freedom, etc. And you see that in the stones. Because they do wild and crazy things. Still a bit conservative, but wild and crazy. They get out there a little bit. They open up their expression. In my opinion, it's a renaissance in this old style. It's wonderful. I have plenty of those stones, rubbings to show you as well. So tonight, my objective, show a little bit of a history, a chronology. And then I really want to play, and I can start showing you some of the atypical stuff, the stuff that makes it fascinating. It makes you think, oh yeah, I want to go visit this graveyard here. I'll show a lot of that, and then we'll take it from there and just play it by ear. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. I even started grinding some rubbings out that I never got never had matted, just because there is so much good stuff out there. So, anyways, any questions? Let's play. Okay, first of all, and if you can't see, stand up, hop up and down. This is Prudence Whitwell from Marblehead, Massachusetts. I like her because you've got a very nice, not too scary skull with the wings that represent the ascent into heaven. True Confessions, Marblehead, Massachusetts was a seaport town, a very active one back then, but very conservative because this breaks the rule as far as times are concerned. The date on this one is 1773. So this really is kind of late for a death head, but hey, they were really firmly rooted in their beliefs, and they just weren't as open to change. I've got my pièce de résistance from Marblehead, Massachusetts, to show you folks. Any of you that have studied this, you'll know it already. But you can look forward to her too. Good cousin, she's a cousin to that right there. And that's a promise. All right. My notes for my next talk. I'm looking for the Egyptian stuff. This one here is from Rockingham, Vermont, 1800, John Harwood. I put a note because, see right there, you've got a globe, a ball. I can't tell you the whys or hows. Yeah, it's neoclassical, but I suspect it's also Egyptian too. If you look at some of the big tombs, and you've got the big ball with the wings on each side, it's some sort of god or something, but I can't remember what, so I gotta look it up. But anyways, this is wonderful. And you're welcome to look at these afterwards, but there's little eyebrows here, the attention to detail, and the lovely eyes and the hairdo, and there is a diadem on the top right there. All these lovely details. And I think you're going to find this is going to be one of the Rockingham carver stones who used a compass. And you can see in a lot of them the compass point and then inscribe the circle around. And I believe this is going to be one of the Rockingham carvers. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. And you'll see this changes with some of the rubbings. The medium determines the stone. This is very fine lines. So this is a slate stone. Slate is very hard. You can get very detailed. If you start carving into a granular stone, start seeing East Longmeadow, Mass, Meriden, Connecticut. They have a brown, not soapstone, sandstone. They have a brown sandstone down there. It's very rusty colored. Bennington, Vermont, in that area, you get marble 100 years way too early, but that's what they had there, and that's what they used then. That type of stone, not as hard as slate, very granular. You feel one over there at Park Cemetery, it's very rough. It's like sandpaper. So the rubbing, the detail will be different. You're not going to get the little eyelashes and everything that's there. Next. All right, I've got a couple of willows and urns here. Watch your step, Kim. I get too excited. This right here is going to be from Grafton, Mass, Sarah Prentice stone. A good everyday classic willow and urn. This is going into the 1800s, that whole 19th century feeling. And you've got a willow tree for weeping willow, for loss, for mourning. You've got the urn for the funerary ashes. I held this one out because you're going to see at the top there, that looks like how you take the lid off the top. That's actually flame, and that represents, that's the soul ascending up to heaven. And so by the time this happens, and I get a little silly with it, but by the time you get here, guess what? God is kind of gone from the picture. We all know God still lives there, no problem. We know he's there. The focus has gone from up there and God being the hardline decision maker to down here. It's now, the focus is on our loss. We know this person's going to go to heaven. They live a good life, but the focus is on the loss. The focus is the grief. It's a melancholy art. And when we go over to Park Cemetery, there's some lovely examples of that. It's got a nice little smidgen of some of this stuff where suddenly, well, yeah, we know God's there, but really the focus is all on here, down here. It's on the loss. And the oldest cemetery getting into the 1800s, 1831, Mount Auburn Cemetery in Cambridge. If you want to take a weekend, wow, the sculpture is phenomenal. And I was emotionally drained after each day because you will see dogs carved and waiting outside the tomb. You will see young infants draped in a veil. And the kids get me the worst, they really do. And doing the work I am in Park Cemetery, the kids' stones are phenomenal. The feeling, the pathos, whatever, is just, But anyways, yeah, it's just Mount Auburn Cemetery. It's the first example of that 19th century rural cemetery. We'll be talking about that next time. But that's if you want to go to the next step. But not tonight. This is one from Tilton I thought I'd toss in. James Sanborn, 1841, I believe. This is from Lancaster Hill. But it's a nice representative willow tree. Very stylized and straightforward. Makes a nice picture to put on a wall. But I get bored easily and I want to start playing with the real pictures. So that's the overview. That's the chronology. That's just the foundation.
Have a little more rose.
This is the body guy. And this is the bear, okay? The bear. Okay, next. Let's start playing. Jane, I found it. Of course. I've lost half my notes. I've lost some things permanently, but we'll get through it. Okay. I love this stone. You may or may not be able to see it because these are older rubbings. These are over 20 years old. They're probably 30 or so years old if I do the math. I don't want to say I'm getting older, but holy cow. This is for the three Goddard children, Plymouth, Mass. And I believe this is Henry Christian Geyer, is the carver. Beautiful, beautiful stone. And what's nice about this, and you can look at it after, maybe I'll put it over there. Maybe I will put it there. Is that you've got one angel that is one cherub, the Sowles going heaven, looking at you straight forward. And the other two, one is inclined towards the center, the other's inclined in the other direction. This person had some talent. They didn't just do three faces straight on, which is how I could draw. I couldn't draw a three-quarter profile. Are you kidding me? But they did that in stone. Obviously it's slate because the detail is lovely. It's for children. You're going to find there's a variation that children get smaller stones, and you can tell that by the top, the tympanum here, that they'll have smaller stones. But the feeling, the pathos is just, wow. I look at it and I still feel it. I really do. But you know, the one thing I never forget is that, if you were meant to be here, They put these carvings here for people to look at and to read and to understand. We just forgot along the way. We're just a couple hundred years later. We don't remember what it was like back then. Doesn't make it any less valuable. All right, not too far. Actually, it's a row over and a couple to the side. I love this stone. This is a great transition stone. This is one that's missing a label, but I can tell you where it is. This is Plymouth, Massachusetts. It's up on the top of the hill. If I were to go there with you, I would walk you right to this stone because I know where it is. Turn of the century. It's going to be about 1805. This is a lovely stone because you get both worlds in it. You've got a lot of very straightforward geometric classical stuff here. So you can tell we've got our Greek revival going, and this person knew it. But they did. By now, they start making reference to the person, who you were, what you did. Pretty daring stuff. They wouldn't have done that in the 1600s because that would have been blasphemous. That would have been a graven image, no joke. But this person was a sea captain, and they had the nerve to put that because they're getting a little braver. Our country is becoming a new country. But what I like about this stone, it is so neoclassical, and yet if you look right here, how's that for a trumpeting angel? Now that is 1700s every day of the week. You have a trumpeting angel calling someone to rise from the dead. So it's a nice transition piece. This person is very aware of what's going on at the time. This person is also aware of the history from whence he came. And just a nice, nice piece. I guess I'm going to put that there. And, oh good, I left it at the top. Let's see if I can do this without them all falling down. I discovered a tube of rubbings the other day, and what a thrill. I thought I'd lost these. Some of them are pretty battered. So I can't tell you exactly. This is the Charles Turnbull stone. This is from Boston, the granary. And this is just a classic. You don't see a lot of ships, but this one is wonderful. You cannot do rubbings in Boston anymore. And it says, anchored in the haven of rest. You will find anchors on grave markers. And the anchors are for being anchored in the haven of rest. Anchors are also a symbol of hope. And I love this. Oh no, not Charles Turnbull. That's the name of the ship is the Turnbull. It was an early 1800s conflict that it was in, and I didn't. Wherever I have it written down, it's in a safe place. That's all I can tell you. But lovely artistry. We're getting into just some of the beautiful stuff. What detail. And yes, a hard slate stone because the lines are so fine. Serving up a gravestone rubbing. Hold the syrup. Yes. I love it. All right. This is where, why can't we take our history classes to graveyards and teach a local history? I love this stone. It is as tall as I am. This right here is the Lieutenant Moses Willard family from Charlestown, New Hampshire. Home of Fort Number 4. French and Indian Wars may ring a bell. The date on this one is 1797. I love it for a million reasons. The first is, of course, it's not the most skilled carver on earth. It's something I would do. I'd start carving a nice little angel and, oh, forgot the foot. Darn! And so you got to sort of add it there and make it work. You know, I screw up like that all the time. But as you look at this, even though I would consider it more of a primitive stone, you've got, and again, look at this after the fact when I'm done. This is Mrs. and this is Mr. She has a very thin cap on that they wore during that time. And his hair is obviously shorter. Hers is tucked in under the cap. It is thought that these are squash blossoms. This is a piece of iconography that you're just not 100% sure. They may have discovered it now. That I don't know. But last I knew, no. This stone is great not only for the picture, but I want to read to you what it says below on the stone that I did not rub, and I cheated. I've got it on the back here. Let's see. Erected in memory of Lieutenant Moses Willard and Mrs. Susanna, his wife, who were first settlers of his town, whose bodies, B-O-D-D-Y-S, are interred here. He was killed by the Indians June 16, 1756, in the 54th year of his age. and she departed this life May 5th, 1797, in the 88th year of her age. What rendered their lives remarkable was that their being bereft of their two elder daughters by the Indians, one of whom had her family with her and continued in captivity until after his death. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. It's like walking into a time machine. That happens. I get transported into the past, and it depends on what the carvings are, what the pictures are. But then this stuff is just cliff notes. It's great. I don't even need to look at the pictures. I can read the bottoms as well. Another New Hampshire stone. This is a personal favorite. This is probably taller than myself. If you can see the contrast, this is the Captain Jeremiah Post. He's from Orford, New Hampshire, 1776. And this carver is the hook and eye man. He was referred to for many, many years. If you look at the way he treats the eyes and the nose. They have since discovered his name. This is carved by Jersham Bartlett. But that is a very representative style. This is interesting for several reasons. Number one, you see this stone down in Hartford, Connecticut. I've seen it up as far north as Woodsville, New Hampshire, and you only see it a certain amount inland. This carver traveled up and down the Connecticut River selling his stones. And I wouldn't think of that, but it makes perfect sense. The other neat thing about this particular stone, you can tell by the rubbing that it's a nice hard slate stone. That is not his typical stone. He usually carved in that reddish-brown sandstone that you see down towards Hartford and East Longmeadow, Mass. That sort of thing. But hook and eye man, special guy. Love him. Love him, love him. Whoops. Watch out, Kim. Got it, Jane, because that's for this one. Another great one. Look at this. This is from East Longmeadow, Mass, as a matter of fact. The Naomi Woolworth stone. 1760, and I just mentioned the stones in East Longmeadow, Mass. They're a very granular, rust-colored stone, so they're going to be like a marble. They're not as hard as a slate, so you can tell it's not the same detail at all. It's a whole different stone. This is a fun one. I'm thinking of my other blue one. Excuse me, put that back. This one is fun because it's got a lot of nice items from the past that are carryovers from the first images. First of all, you will see a lot of hourglasses, especially in the oldest stones, to remind us that our glass is running and we don't know when it's going to run out. This one here is empty if it's run out. Sometimes you don't see that, but this one's real clear. Her days are over because that's done right there. You will sometimes see Fugit aura type flies. And she didn't put that here. But some great symbols other than that, you don't see a lot of these. That's a rooster. That may be the only one, as a matter of fact. And the rooster is for, in the morning, the rooster crows, and it has to do with calling the faithful and rising from the dead. Now, if you look carefully, right here on this side, that is actually a scythe, a sickle. And that's for, again, the Grim Reaper. It's coming for the faithful, bringing in the sheaves, that sort of thing. This last piece right here is debated iconography. They think that may be a dart of death. And that makes sense because the oldest stones, you get these little imps, and they've got all these little darts ready to kill the person. It's suggested that may be, the lower part may be a candle snuffer to snuff out one's life. But you get a lot of different things like this, and you'll see more of these as we go along. Nice stone, nice stone. Oh, in East Longmeadow, Mass, I know you've heard these with epitaphs and everything. I don't have an example of this. There's also one in Boston, Mass. There are stones in both cemeteries that have sort of demonic-looking heads. They almost look like wolves. And in both situations, the rumor is these young men were warlocks. And they didn't mince any words on these stones. If they wanted to communicate something, they did. Now, I don't think it's been substantiated that was the belief in East Longmeadow, but I believe there are writings that prove that the guy in Boston, in the granary, the belief was he was in fact a warlock and that he was responsible for the death of 2 of his children. And they have found that in writing. So, all the neat stuff you get. Who knew? Who knew? This one may be difficult to see, I hope not. I have other portraiture. This is from Grafton, Mass. It's going to be another slate, very fine detail. This is for Charles Brigham, and he was a lawyer back then, and they made sure to suggest that. I don't know anything else. You can look at him after, because the contrast is faded. You're going to see, going up the front, you've got the buttonholes, and you've got a collar in his hair, and he's got a tie for his hair. You also have these Greek columns here with, I believe those are acanthus leaves, victory over death, and you can tell that old Greek influence there. We're getting into Greek revival art and architecture. We're thinking about Victorianism. Just another pretty stone. They started to, you saw that with a couple of ship stones that I showed you, that you're starting to see we're brave enough. Our country is young and growing. It's okay to show what a person did as an occupation. We still aren't quite, God still makes the decision, but at least we begin to dare on that. Let's see, Rocky here, do I have, I'll leave that there. No, I don't. All right. I was going to say another favorite, they're all my favorites. It's like, if you have 6 kids, which one do you like the most? I like them all. All right, this is another one. This is from Newburyport, Mass. And Bonehead, I've got all the details written down elsewhere. And I tried to find it this morning, and I can't, but again, I can tell you the story. If we were to go there, I could walk right up to the top of the hill where this one is. And lovely, lovely piece. It's going to be late 17, early 1800s, so like 1790 to 1810 maybe, right in that time period. And it's gorgeous because you've got a nice figure. It was for a woman that died. And you've got the anchor of hope right there, and it says across the top of the tympanum, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul. And I believe, there we go, Jane, that's the one right here. That is biblical. That's from a spot in the Bible. Hebrews 6:19, we have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. Pretty cool. And they knew what this meant. They didn't need to see the Bible, scripture, or anything. Unlike myself, I would have to look it up on the internet. But what's excellent about this is you've also got the hourglass to remind us time passes, and we want to make things right with God. Look at the lovely 3-legged stool that it's sitting on. Is that a period piece, or what? It's gorgeous. What's great about this stone, and I have it written somewhere, I couldn't find it, is that there's a whole description down below about how wonderful a woman she was, and a wonderful wife, and a wonderful mother. The details are great. It almost sounds, you can almost see her making shake and bake dinner and bring it on the table and the family sitting around. And great description of what a great mother and wife she was. It's awesome. And they felt it important to share all those. This is quite the person in her time. 3-legged stool makes me think of the dairy.